Hey guys, and welcome to our 7th episode. Today we're discussing Kai's dyeing results, which is very black, and we'll talk about that in a moment. First, I just wanted to say, please check out our first video. There we go over all the guidelines, and in following episodes, we also go further into detail on those guidelines. We have tweaked a few of the guidelines because Kai is hoping for a loom upgrade in the near future, and so that has adjusted them slightly and such. But we always include the guidelines, updated guidelines, in the description, and we also put the fiber that we've been using if you'd like to follow along. And if you have been following along, please put in that in the comments. We'd love to see results. Okay, so without further ado, Kai, let's hear all about it.
Okay, so first, this is the warp. And to be noted, this warp was pre-made before it went into the dye pot. Mainly to only because I wanted to, since it was a lot of plied yarn, this is actually 2 skeins of the yarn. I wanted to keep the amount of, still the same amount as 2 skeins, but just to make it easier, I have the cross here, so this is the cross tie, as you can see. So this is the warp, and this is the weft yarn. So hopefully this is going to be enough. This is, I think, 189 yards. I'm not sure, but hopefully this is enough. If not, I'll have hopefully skeins to dye. And then, so the process is, first I called Astrid, because if you may or may not know, this is my first time using acid dyes, and I'm used to using natural dyes.
And so, I'll also say you also use Kool-Aid, and check, he has a bunch of videos on Kool-Aid if you don't have access to acid dyes, and a few natural dyeing videos, I believe, too. So really check that out if you don't have the access to acid dyes.
Right. Okay, so yeah, Kool-Aid is very good since it is artificial coloring, it literally. It is a very good option. It sticks to fibers really well. The only limited option is cotton and other cellulose plant fibers. But it only works on protein fibers like silk, alpaca, wool, and all those other protein fibers that exist. But those are just the basics. Yes, as this is my first time using acid dyes. So first I called Astrid because having a little bit of expertise from a person who does this quite often definitely helped. So after I got off the call with Astrid, I went into the kitchen and got a bowl. I put water and vinegar and mixed that together, and then I put the skein of yarn and the dye pot in the bowl and let it sit overnight until around 4 o'clock in the afternoon the next day. And then I started dyeing the yarn. So basically, I put the yarn and the dye in, the water and dye in a dye pot, which is my dedicated dye pot because acid dyes are toxic. So you also, when using acid dyes, you want to make sure that you are using things that will not be used to consume things or to cook food. You get the idea.
Also wear a mask. You don't want to breathe.
Oh yes, powder. And wear a protective mask. They do suggest face mask, but I just did this.
I think everyone has a face mask too at this point. Also, if you don't want your hands to turn black, wear gloves. Okay. So yeah. And also, I told Kai about this in our call, but there's a bunch of things when working with black, but some of the basic things that Kai did is you want to pre-soak it at least overnight. And I told him to use vinegar because especially we have a silk blend, and silk doesn't accept liquids as well. And so you want to pre-soak it so that it's very open and able to absorb liquids before you start the dyeing process. You also want to do things like put the dye in the pot first and make sure you gently stir it around a bit. You don't want to agitate it, but stir it around a bit and stuff. So there's a bunch of dyeing reasons, but that is some of the best ways to get darker, more consistent blacks when you're hoping to work with that. And Kai's did come out as a little bit more of a dark gray, which happens very often. Black, it's very difficult to get a black. Most of the times that I've worked with black dyes, it doesn't come out black. Just expect that when you're going to work.
It's better to make black is better to use for mixing to make dyes darker, not necessarily to be used on its own, because as Astrid said, it is pretty hard to get black.
Yeah.
Because black is not a color that is easy to achieve.
And honestly, if you do want a black in a colorway or something, I would actually go more of a dark brown, because it's going to be more accurate to get that dark brown than it's ever going to be to get a black. Yeah, and you may or may not have mentioned this, but Kai was using Dharma True Black. And so, yep, there it is. And so I also just wanted to say, and this isn't fine, it's kind of fine print for the guidelines, which we don't put in the description, but that we basically have to use the colors that we've selected. And again, we go over all of this in the first episode. But the colors that we've selected for ourselves, which for me was pink and purple, and Kai was black and yellow, which are like his bumblebee colors, which I love that he got bumblebee colors. But we have to use some of those colors throughout our piece, and preferably dyed onto our Ashford vanilla fiber, merino silk pack of her Kai. Again, all this is in the first episode. But all of that, and I have dyed my pink, and I need to do my purple, but I'm going to incorporate all those colors. We also included an optional orange, which just, if you want depth to your colors or anything that we felt, if we wanted to add it into the dyeing, we can, we don't have to, but it just opens up a few more possibilities with your color. So I have this, I dyed up, which we discussed last time, and this, I finished spinning up my fiber, and then whatever was on the bottom and all of that just went into this cake. I haven't steamed it or wet finished it in any way yet. I'll probably do that on the bobbins and steam it. I like having my hand steamer. It's my favorite way to set yarn.
So this is comparison. So this is how it would have started out, and this is how it turned out. So as you can see, it is more of a dark gray. That is it. And I am working on a behind the scenes video on the process. So keep an eye out for that video. If you aren't subscribed already, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. And in that video, I will describe in depth on all the steps and processes. And yeah, we'll see you next time. Bye.
Thanks for joining us.